And I got a couple of questions, but let's start with the technical part. The footage, all the sort of home movie footage of the ride, who had that? Was that journalist that had that?
Yeah, we were very lucky. That was Associated Press newsreel footage. And I mean, I thought we were going to be able to find lots of footage, given how much press the trip got. But we never did. That was the only archival footage of the time that we actually found. Fortunately, we did find that. Tons of photographs, but that was the only footage.
And did the Associated Press follow it the whole way? I mean, was there always a car alongside or behind you shooting it?
There was so much press. Being 9 years old, I couldn't tell Associated Press from anybody else at that point. But I was surprised that was all that was found.
Mm. But I just wonder that it seemed as if there was always somebody there. So along your ride, there was always somebody kind of filming along the way. It wasn't just when you got to towns and so forth.
You know, I think it was sporadic.
Okay.
We were alone. We were often alone, and then boom, there was press, and they were everywhere. And then we were left alone again. Yeah.
One of the most interesting things that I think you said was at the time, and even now it seems like you couldn't understand why there was so much coverage. It seemed like a perfectly natural thing for you to do, and you and your brother to just get in a pony cart and go to Montreal. But it also speaks to a time in the country before we really had what is now called celebrity culture, where everybody gets their 15 minutes or whatever, and you know, it's not like we didn't have publicity stunts before that, where people would do odd things to get press coverage. But this was a time when, you know, something like this happened, and it was a mind-boggling experience, and the press was just getting rolling on these things. You say it's a life-changing experience for you, but everything went back to normal. So did it affect your life as you got through high school, as you went into getting careers and doing other things? So was that always part of it?
Well, it's hard to tell because I did it, and life then happened.
Right.
But I will say that it did, because of the preparation my mother gave us ahead of time and the training. When we left the driveway, we were positive that we were going to make it to Montreal. And I think that has lasted through my life, where I wanted to do something, I'd prepare, and I would be sure that I would get it done. And if not, then we'll do something else.
Well, the positive attitude is definitely something you would bring forward from it. I love seeing the triptychs, because I remember triptychs. I mean, nobody knows how to read a map anymore because it's all GPS. My kids, it's like, what's a map? So, and I'm stifled trying to figure out how to use the GPS, so it's back and forth. But the roads you went on, it had to be sort of picked through, not super highways, not that there were as many then, but the back roads?
Yeah, we took the back roads, and as we said in the film, we did 20 miles. So we were pretty conscious of how far we needed to get. So we were using the maps to guide us how well we were doing during the day. So.
That's awesome, awesome. So Eric, how did you get onto this film? How did you decide, okay, I think I want to do a film about this trip that was in 1965?
Well, I heard about it actually from Jeff. Well, first from a neighbor. Jeff lives 4 or 5 doors down the street from me, so it was a very easy story once I learned it was there. It was a mutual friend, neighbor, who had told me about it, and then the next time I ran into Jeff, I said, I'm gonna make you tell me that story someday. It took a while, about 10 years before we finally
well, he's shy.
Found a time. Yeah,
he's shy.
Very shy. He would always run when he saw me. No, not really. But by the way, I just want to say thank you to the Hamptons Documentary Festival for showing this and all the other great films. I mean, the 3 other shorts here and all the films we've seen. It's been a great festival.
Well, your film adds to it, and so you're a filmmaker to begin with. You liked the story, and so talk about how you set about making it, what you did for it.
Well, I mean, I make historical documentaries for PBS, thing not really like this, much longer format, 60 or 90 minutes, and this just felt like it would be something fun to take on. I had my camera. I was trying to teach myself how to shoot again after having not done much shooting for many years. And so I talked Jeff into coming over and sitting in my living room for about 2 hours. I mean, it was a long first interview. And then literally a week later, COVID came and shut everything down. And I had that interview, and Jeff had given me the family scrapbook, which had a lot of the articles and newspaper clippings that you saw. So there I was, shut in the house with this one long interview and all those newspaper clippings, and just went to work on it. And first I thought, oh, I can't get anywhere with just this, but I actually had a great time putting that together. And then after, I think about 9 months, I was able to catch up with Tony, who lives not far from Jeff, but 20 or 30 miles away. So I went out, and my wife helped me shoot, and we shot him through a door. It was still COVID times, so had the camera outside and Tony inside, and did that interview. But that's how it came together, and slowly, like all documentaries, but it did eventually.
Well, it's great. Obviously, a good hand at putting together that archival material. I loved all the different clippings, as well as the close-ups on the letters and the different kind of vibes that happened out of that. And your sister, the interview with her, all really, really excellent stuff for a documentary. Also, a little bit of a commentary on the press. I used to work for newspapers, and we talk about you can't have alternative facts. Nobody seems to agree on the mileage on this thing. I mean, I saw 400, 350, 330, 311. It's like, okay, how long is it, really?
Yeah, and they lost their pedometer along the way, I think.
Yeah, it stopped working.
Along with the sneakers. Some things fell by the wayside.
Well, it's funny. I mean, I have to give a shout out to the editor, Rachel Clark, who did so much for this film. I mean, I edited it to a certain point, and then she took over and made it what it is now. And yeah, we went back and forth a lot about, there were all sorts of places where the facts don't quite add up. And we finally just decided this is about oral history. It's not journalism, it's not academic history. We'll just let a few of these things slide. But yeah, if you look too closely there, I mean, it is funny, because I was a reporter too for many years, and it's important to get things right.
You would think.
Somehow, those newspaper articles, everyone's contradicting themselves, the other reporters. It's really
well,
funny.
It also depends on what route you take.
Exactly.
If, the route we took was a long route, 27 days, so maybe 350 miles.
Well, probably. And it may have been
far
more.
off.
And some reporters are measuring it as the crow flies. It's ridiculous. So, no, that is great stuff. And it's also a lovely portrait of the family, in terms of what your father was like, what your mother was like, and not every family does that. Obviously, that's why the commentary from other mothers, both pro and con, happens. So now that this film's been made, I mean, you and your brother probably are pretty close anyway, and you spend a lot of time together. So, I mean, has it brought back a lot about this trip? Has the family not done much about the trip until the movie was made? I mean, how much was made of it?
It was interesting. I was 9, and now I had to kind of relive it through the scrapbook, and I know my brother did too. We have talked about it. There are questions I still have for him that, for example, did he and my mother really talk about it before I came into the kitchen? How much did they talk about? We haven't talked about that. And it was kind of, I discovered there was a different trip for him and I. I remember things he doesn't remember, and he remembers things I don't remember. So it was kind of interesting when we did get together and discuss
But over the years, before the film was made, you didn't make much of it. You didn't talk about it all the time. It's like,
no, it happened 55 years ago or whatever. So no, we knew we did it, and we don't keep talking about it.
And so you were in the audience, and your brother was on stage for You Bet Your Life?
Yeah, to tell the truth.
To tell the truth, I'm sorry.
No, that's all right. And yes, I was very disappointed that I wasn't the one up in there. But yes, I was in the audience, and he was the one.
And how long after the expo did that happen?
I think it was in September following the trip.
So it hadn't all the way died down yet, and that was still the tag end of the
Oh, no,
the
no,
furor
it had
about
not died down. People would still stop us and say, "Are you the Pony Boys? Are you one of the Pony Boys?" It was great fun. It was great fun.
And by the time you were in high school, not so much?
Oh, no, it was long over by then.
Really? That's amazing. It's amazing. Well, thank you so much. We got a couple of minutes here. I'd love to have some questions from the audience. We have up there in the top row.
Hi. Is your mother around by any chance?
And no, my mother passed away about 10 years ago.
What was your version of teaching your kids of the pony park? What was your version of the pony park ride for your kids?
Oh, well, I was told not to mention it until they were much older than 9 years old.
The way you taught your children lessons, what's it?
Well, you know, that's a good point. I think we would let them experience, we would let them experience things they could in this day and age. I was probably a lot more willing to say, sure, go do it. And my wife would say, wait a minute, let's think about this. But for the most part, I think we were, as a team, would let our kids have adventures.
Did you have a pony for them?
No.
No
But
phone.
boy, my daughter wanted one.
I'm sure. Right here.
I was so impressed with your pony and how you work together in your morning routine. But my big question is, besides the love and care, what did you feed your pony? Because that's like superfood as far as, longevity for your pony.
Well, he got oats in the morning and oats in the evening and grazed. Usually when we got to our destination, there was always a place for him to graze. And we had oats, and there was often the place we stayed would have horses, and they could also provide oats.
Nice stuff. Yeah.
Did your mom have more to do with it than she went on? Did you ever ask her later?
You know, after the trip, we never really talked about it.
Did everyone hear the question? It was how much did their mother actually have to do with it? How present was she on the trip, and did they talk about it later?
We never talked about it later. As I said in the film, really, my brother and I thought she really was not anywhere near us. The decisions we made going forward were our decisions. For the people we stayed with, it was our responsibility to be the guests we were supposed to be. And yeah, my mother was never around until the border.
Yeah, and which was a beautiful appearance.
It was
out
a
of
beautiful
nowhere.
appearance.
Suddenly.
But the interesting thing is that if you were to drive to Montreal, it would be about five and a half hours. So even the 27 days, halfway through the trip, she was still only 2.5 hours away.
Exactly. Yeah, that's good math there. Anybody else? Right there.
Did you do any practice runs, or did you just do this cold?
Our practice runs were delivering papers in the morning. That was it.
One more question.
Did you ever cry along the trip with your brother?
No, we never cried. I don't remember any problems at all. We never cried. A lot of laughter, a lot of fun. No, there was never a time when I felt crying.
Well, thank you so much for bringing us this film, and thank you so
Thank
much
you.
for coming down. Really appreciate it.